star of the critically acclaimed NBC television show Parenthood. She can now add author to her list of credits that she is joining us tonight to discuss her debut novel, Someday, Someday, Maybe. Joining Ms. Graham tonight on stage is fellow Barnard College Ms. Graham is the author of 6 previous best-selling novels and 9 nonfiction books. Her New York Times column, Public and Private, won the Pulitzer Prize in 1992. Thank you.
Okay, we need mics, guys. We need mics.
My sister here?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, hi. Oh, hi, Jessica. Jessica Manning. Is Allison here? Yeah. Hi.
Look, you're so popular.
I can't believe it. Thanks for coming, guys. On this nice spring day to sit inside and do you have a mic yet?
I have a mic now.
Okay.
I think I do. Can you guys hear me?
No.
I don't have a mic, guys. Oh, here comes a new mic. Meet the new mic. Same as the old mic.
Mine is okay.
Okay, is mine all right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you have the sassy cordless one.
Yeah, I'm gonna flip it in the air.
Yeah. You're gonna really do some dancing with this.
So for a long time, I felt like there was barely 1 degree of separation between us.
I know.
We both went to Barnard. You were in the movie version of my novel, One True Thing, with Meryl Streep and Renee Zellweger.
One of my first jobs, really, as an actor. Amazing, gorgeous book.
And once in a doctor's waiting room, a woman said that my daughter Maria and I reminded her of Lorelai and Rory Gilmore, and she considered the high point of our lives.
I am so excited to finally cross that bridge and actually meet you.
And to read this absolutely phenomenal novel. If you haven't read it yet, you're going to love it, especially if you're a New Yorker, because in New York, it conjures up the New York where you see a guy from your apartment in a neighboring apartment so that you keep track of him. It's irresistible, and it's so funny.
That's so nice of you. I could die now. That's Thank you so much.
But I got to ask you this. I mean, someone once said to me that the 2 most perilous and challenging lines of work are being an actor and being a writer. So now you're one of the few people in the Pantheon who's done both. How come? Why did you want to do this?
I don't entirely know. Honestly, I kept saying to friends and family, whose idea was this? Like, why didn't I pick up a nice instrument, a new language, a craft, like something that isn't so vulnerable? And I don't know, but I was a voracious reader as a child. I think it's part of the reason I ended up as an actor. Stories. There was nothing more important in our house than a good story. My father's an excellent storyteller, and I lived in the world of fiction. That was a world as real to me as my own in some ways, and so the difference here was I'm on a job where I don't work every day, and I for the first time in my life had these pockets of time that I can't go do a play, I can't do a movie. I'm under contract on a TV show, so I
find it harder than acting?
Oh yeah, because there's no one helping you on a day where things are not happening. And also I had so much to learn in terms of structuring something. You know, I'm not the most organized person, and I did my book like I did my senior thesis. When I first met my editor, Jen Smith, who's right there, who's a wonderful author. If any of you are on Twitter, which I recently was forced to join by the evil Random House people, I said something grammatically incorrect today, and she very kindly was like, just so you know, and like sent me an email. So I'm like endless, I'm always being edited now. But anyway, my editor said to me when we started this together, I said, just so you know, I wrote my senior thesis in like a very short time on the typewriter and turned it in like, you know, that scene in Working Girl, like running down, you know, at the last possible second. Working Girl, anyone? And she said, oh, well, just so you know, I finished my thesis 2 weeks early and I lied about it because I didn't want people to think I was a geek. I was like, uh-oh, you've got your deadline work cut out for you.
So how did the two of you work together? Did you hand in things in pieces, or did you hand in the whole thing at the very end?
Pieces.
How did it work?
This was another thing that I was learning because I had about 100 pages, which was what the novel sold based on, but it wasn't finished. And those 100 pages had come very easily, and I thought, this is going to be like no big deal. And then the next 100, 200 pages were agony, and I think it had to do with both because I sold it, and it had ceased to be something just for me. It now was something that people were waiting on. So in the beginning, I would show her anything I had, and then she's such a great reader that I didn't want to burn her out on reading the same thing with slightly different, you know, changes, and so I tried to keep it. I tried to do it in larger chunks, and I think this time we're going to do another book together. I will do that as well, because there's nothing, you can't ever ask anyone to read it for the first time a second time. And so mainly she just encouraged me at that point. We weren't really editing so much as she was just pulling pages from me and getting the work physically done, and then once we had the whole, then the editing process, I would say, started in earnest.
Do you remember a moment when you were working on the book? There's a quote from Robert Frost where he says, no tears in the writer, no tears in the reader, which I think is really true, but it's also true for laughs. Do you remember a moment that you hit in the novel where you just laughed out loud at yourself?
No, I don't know. Well, yes, of course, so many. I couldn't stop laughing. No, I probably don't, but I definitely know there are things that I still find funny. There's some characters who I really love. The old agent, you know, and I love all the exchanges with the father because it reminds me of my father, but it isn't. But I just like the ways in which people misunderstand show business and endlessly ask you, you know, especially when you're starting out, what feels like the wrong question, you know, and they all seem to boil down to, why aren't you working more, you know, and like you're like, you have no idea, this is really hard, you know, but to me the whole sequence where she falls off the stage, it's horrible, but it's funny, and I had given it to not my book agent, but my agent, who's a fast-talking man agent, and he was like, oh gosh, she's so worried about stuff all the time, and I was like, what? I was like, it's funny. Didn't you find it funny? And he was like, she's worried about her hair. I was like, yeah, that's her worry about.
Like a major character.
I know. But certain men just don't get it. So I don't know. There are things that to me actually, I thought it would be more laugh out loud funny. And now working on this second book, which takes place in LA, it's so much easier to make fun of LA. And I've had such nostalgia for, again, it's me, but it's not me, but I definitely was remembering the time of living in Brooklyn in the 90s, and I had such nostalgia for it that it came out more sweet and less snappy.
As somebody who has ticked off about people assuming that my novels are autobiographical, because that suggests that I don't have it together enough to actually create fiction.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that a lot of this is fiction, but is there any little scene or person in this who is based really in most of my books, there's somebody where I can say to myself, yeah, that's so-and-so.
Well, because I am a person who's in a public job already, I would say I went out of my way. I certainly didn't want to write about any relationship or friendship that people could point to, or that anyone in my life might, be so vain they thought the song was about them, And so I went out of my way not to have any kind of, events or anything like that. I did have a roommate in Brooklyn, but I don't think the character of Jane quite does her justice, but she is here tonight, Kathy. So I would say, Kathy was my Jane in that we were great friends, we were roommates, we were confidants, and but I found I kind of often played the sassy best friend in something, and I always feel like, why doesn't the sassy best friend have more to do? I mean, the person I'm the most interested in is the sassy best friend, and this was my first experience where I was like, wow, I had so much more for the sassy best friend to do, but ultimately I kind of needed it to be more about this main story, and there was Jane had a whole other subplot that I ended up cutting. Sorry, Jane. And so that was an interesting just realization for me that so I would say that person has some of, but is not as witty and smart as Kathy, but I try to make her close.
All right, well, I'm just going to tell the readers in the audience to keep an eye out, because there's a very tiny, very perky, very ambitious blonde actress in this book, and I am convinced she is based on a real person.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I would say she's based on a lot of real people. There's no particular. I wanted the idea of someone who is a rival but a friend, because that's so present in your 20s, I think, but also in show business, you are happy for people and they're happy for you, kind of, except when you got a job they really wanted, so there are a lot of people I've known over the years, and also it was important to me that they weren't real. It wasn't something ugly. It wasn't like an ugly female rivalry, but it was just funny enough that it wasn't great, but and who do you think it is? Talk later. Oh. I didn't know. I personally know her now, and I didn't know her then. But it does invite people. It's casting. That's a great casting choice, because everybody has to be like 25. But yes, you can see that kind of chirpiness, let's say, in that character of Penelope.
Well, let me ask you about casting. Don't you think this would make a great movie or TV series?
I think, to me, this is a series, because the nature of this life of being an actor is very episodic, and it's up and down, and there is a goal that you'd like to have at the end that could take 3 or 5 or 7 years. I don't know now that Smash maybe didn't turn out the way they wanted, if they would shy away from show business, but this to me is more my so-called life. It's not big moments, it's small, it's coming of age, it's struggling. It's like a happy, less naked girls, But yes, I'd love to, and also I'd love to produce it. I'd love to. I mean, believe me, like the creative part of turning it into something else would be really fun.
Anything in the works?
No, they just sent it out. They just sent it out, so I don't know. And also, then on the other hand, I feel sort of like this is just this thing I just started doing, and I'd like a chance to, I don't know, work on, because the next book would, so far in my mind, it's not a sequel, but it's a companion piece. It could have some of these same characters, and I'd kind of like to see what happens before, the CW or whatever. But I don't know how it will, work.
So, speaking of television series.
You're all just here for the book, right?
I looked really good in the script and looked really edgy and really smart, and then turned out to be the dumbest Friday night show
Yes.
about a French talking cat,
Yes,
right?
right.
There's Pierre.
Yeah.
There's Pierre. When you first read for and read Gilmore Girls, did you think, boy, this is really something special?
I was too new to think about, to be savvy enough to understand what the impact something might have. At that point, I was still so excited to be, up for something. I had done some series that had come and gone. I had done a couple movies, but I wasn't where I wanted to be. So for me, I always remember this. Christopher Reeve said this at an actor's studio, James Wilson. He said, I know that part is right for me when I can't stand the thought of somebody else doing it. And that's how I felt when I read that script. I was like, oh, I know how to do this. And you have to understand, this is such a strange career where on the one hand, you're terribly, terribly nervous and don't feel worthy. And on the other hand, you have to believe that this job is yours and no one else's, or why would anyone else give it to you? You know what I mean? It's this funny high-low of self-esteem, and I did have a very strong connection to it, and I did feel that I knew how it could sound. I knew what the intention was of that character, and I've been right and I've been wrong and things like that, but I definitely had a confidence in terms of what I wanted to do with it, but I didn't know. No, I remember, in fact, being at the upfronts, which is when they announced the TV schedule, and I didn't know what our time slot was, and they said, oh, you're on 8 o'clock on Thursday night, and I was like, wait, I was at Friends? They were like, yeah, and I was like, oh, we're gonna get canceled, forget it. I laughed, I was just like, oh, forget it, but it was because we were in that insane time slot that they let it just be, and that's as much a part of its success as anything. They didn't expect us to do anything because it was an impossible night.
Early days, did they put you and Alexis in a room together right away?
She had already been cast.
Oh.
And no, we never met until we started filming. And I always think, because she was brand new, had never filmed anything, and she, there's a thing where, especially on that show, where the camera moves, it's very complicated, and you have to be talking, and everything has to be exactly right, and then you have to land at a certain, mark. And she'd never hit a mark before, and so I would put my arm around, I'd sort of be arm in arm with her, and I remember thinking those first couple episodes, and people were like, it's just the chemistry is amazing. I was like, the chemistry? And we're like, hang on to each other. And so, I'm really pulling her to the thing, and she learned very quickly, and is obviously a natural, but we just, it's just one of those things that just kind of happens to work.
Are you and Melissa McCarthy friends?
Yes, she was a dear, dear friend of mine during that whole time, and we would do the show, and then I'd go see her in the Groundlings, and the two, and now you see it, but it's so gratifying because the two didn't even make sense, that this was the same person who was a perfectly wonderful actor, but in terms of what that part was going to use, you're never going to see these characters she created, and she was fearless, and now it's for everyone to see.
It's so exciting.
So exciting, because that doesn't always happen, it's like, we talk about Saturday Night Live and all that kind of stuff, and it's just gratifying that it worked out for her.
So how does your schedule work now? How many days a week do you work as an actress, and how many days do you work as a writer?
Well, it's unpredictable, which I think is why it took me so long this first time, because there's some episodes I have a lot of scenes, and then there's some I don't. So I'd love to have, I was just reading in your book about what your morning routine is, and you get up and you have your coffee and you do your walk, and then presumably you sit down to work, which is not a way that I could structure a day. So I had to, sometimes I'm called at 6 a.m., sometimes I'm doing night work, so I got in the habit, once I got in the habit of 1,000 words, whatever the session, whatever the time I had was, and I didn't make that a lot of the time, but that became the structure. It was just quantity, because I found I would censor myself so heavily that that was one thing I really had to break through, is I don't know who I thought was looking over my shoulder. There's no one in the room but me, and yet I would, oh, I don't like that, that's stupid, you know, and like, I was finally like, forget it, just put something down and then there's something to work with. I mean, I think this is every single person's revelation in life ever. Like, I'm not the first person to think of that, but the experience was as if I discovered it, which is you just have to do something and you can fix it later.
Right. It's written on clay and not in marble.
I don't know if, I would love to hear how you handle that, or if that's changed for you, because that was just such a big deal to get out of my own critical way.
Right. Because I mean, like acting, it's a process of implied rejection.
Right.
It's often not as overt as it is in acting when
Right.
someone says thank you very much when you're only a third of the way through your monologue.
Yes.
On the other hand, I have sat at tables like the one where we're going to be sitting tonight and had people come up, read the black copy, put the book back down and walk away. That's pretty rejecting. Was there anything that you'd learned from acting that helped you when you sat down as a writer?
Yes, there's a similar feeling of, I don't know what else to call it besides flow, when you have a kind of concentration that there's an ease in, and I could definitely tell the difference when, and I don't know exactly, it sort of, all these metaphors are not exactly right, but it's like catching a wave, or, you know, there's some sort of concentration or some sort of ease that I can feel when I'm having a good day as an actor,
Yeah.
and it's the same with this. And then sometimes I was just in a fight with it, you know, trying to get characters to do what I wanted them to do, or like all end up in this room, why is it taking so long to get them in, you know, so I would try for that place of ease, because it translates, you know, to the reader. So many things, it's very similar to me, to the process of, or to the world you may inhabit as an actor, of you start with yourself and then you make something up and then you fill in the space and then you decide if you want to pick up the water or put it down. You know, there is some leeway in terms of, I don't know, in terms of what is happening, but you know where you're headed. I guess that's something in acting too.
Can you compare being directed and being edited? Are they similar or very different?
Oh, that's a good question. I think they're similar, and like as similar to my work as an actor. Sometimes I would just balk against something because it was somebody else's idea, and especially with Jen. Jen is such a nice person, and I would try to bully her, and I do this with directors sometimes too, where I'm like, don't just be nice to me. Look, I know you like Parenthood, but I don't want you to be all easy on me because, you know, of my work as an actor or something. And ultimately, the best you hope for is a great collaborator, is someone who knows you, who likes what you do, and who can offer their help and guidance. And I definitely have found that in my editor, and that is, I think, a stroke of good luck, and could, you know, was immensely helpful.
It's so important when you're
Yeah.
working on a novel. Why not a memoir? I mean, you talk about how Diane Keaton
Yeah.
gave you guidance on this, but she did a book about a very fearless book actually,
love that book.
about her own life.
Yeah.
Fiction in some ways is a lot harder.
I don't know why not. I don't think I have enough interesting stories to tell. It's just the idea of it is not appealing to me. I don't want to tell Hollywood stories. I don't want to tell relationship stories. I don't particularly want to talk about my family more than I already have had to in being an actor, and I'm not like a comic or something like Ellen, who can just write like water bottles. They're crazy. I just thought, and maybe it's also, maybe I don't feel I'm old enough to look back. I mean, because Diane's thing was, we were doing this movie, One True Thing, and I say it in the acknowledgments, but it was apropos of nothing. She just looked at me, and she just said, you should write a book. And it wasn't, you should do a memoir, or she wasn't working on her book then. This was years ago. It was just, she just kind of lifted me up for whatever reason, and it just stuck some things in the book that are of the time. I don't know if people notice it as much as I do, but you know, I grew up with idols who were actual people who were actors, and I didn't like them because they were famous, and I didn't like them because they were popular. I liked them because I could imagine, I wanted to do what they do, and to me, we're in a different world now of so many people are famous for so many things, and you see people like on American Idol or whatever being like, I just want to be famous, and I'm like, oh really? I thought you wanted to be a singer. Like it doesn't, you know, it's this funny, strange, new. So I reference them a lot because I don't know. That's, you know, even just as short a time ago as the '90s, I feel like the people I didn't want to be actors wanted to be actors, not celebrities.
One of the things that you capture so well in the book is that sense of being an outsider in the business. The moment when she's trying to get on the red carpet because she's supposed to meet somebody there, and she gets screened out by the little Apparatchik.
Yeah.
It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, well, and I think that goes on forever. I mean, and to some degree is always present. You know, there's an aspect of, so there's being a creative person, then there's all the stuff that comes with it. And I've mainly been at parties where I feel I don't, this is wrong, how did I get here? You know, that's mainly the feeling. It's not a matter of lack of, you know, I know that I am an actor and I work in the industry and you know, but it's just, I was at the Sundance Film Festival one year and we coined a phrase, this producer friend and I, of chasing the fun, because every single party we went to, she was like, oh no, you know where everybody is? They're at this other party. Let's leave. We'll go to the next one. We went to the next one. They weren't there either. And I was like, we're in like a film festival. Every single person here is somebody, whatever that means, and we can't find the party. Like there's some party out there that's going on and we're not there. And I was like, that's how it feels most of the time. Like it feels like that most of the time. And certainly when you're starting out in your 20s, it doesn't matter what business you're in. I think you feel like you're like, how do I get in there?
Yeah. Well, so I haven't asked any of the People magazine questions.
We left that up to you.
About, for example, the incredibly talented actor boyfriend who is thanked with such fervor in the acknowledgments. So we thought we'd leave about 15 minutes for questions from all of you. So if you have one, raise your hand, stand up, and project. Sing out, Louise.
Hi, Lauren.
Hello.
Love you.
Thank you.
This is like a dream come true. My question was, are you a fast-paced talker like Lorelai is?
Yeah, I mean, you can say, now you've seen me talk for real. I think, to some degree, but I would say by the end of that show, to me, the sound of the show had become like everyone talks that way, and friends would audition and they'd be like, okay, I thought I was fast, but they were like, no, faster, like, so, no, I don't think I talk quite like that, or that articulately, but I have a pretty snappy energy, I guess.
Who's got the mic? Okay, go ahead.
Floral shirt. That's it. Hi, Lauren. I'm
Hi.
Lauren also.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi. I'm a Barnard first year. I'm wondering from both of you actually how your Barnard education has influenced your lives and your careers.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, there's being in New York, which to me is one of the key aspects of going to that school, because it means there's some part of you that didn't want to go to the school in the woods somewhere, even if some days you're like, we don't really have a campus, and where do I go? And I would say it gave me some really dear friends, some of whom are here tonight, and I did schoolwork, and I had some great professors, but I had come from acting school, and I was cramming 4 years of work into 3 years, and I would say every single thing suffered, except for my a cappella group and my plays, musical
was working as a newspaper reporter in New York, which I obviously couldn't have done if I were in Amherst or Williamstown. And I'm about 20 years older than Lauren is, and I would say that I was just on the cusp of women getting any sort of power and influence, and it gave me an incredible amount of confidence. And that came in really handy when I became an op-ed page columnist, because having strong opinions and trying to convince other people that you're right about them is not something that is necessarily built into the way we socialize young women. And I really felt like the only reason I could do it really was because I'd gone to Barnard.
And some of that is in your book.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that in greater depth is in this book, which you should get today. Okay, good. Blue scarf.
Hi, I'm also a Barnard first year. What acapella group are you in? I'm an uptown vocal at Columbia. And also, have you ever considered going back into like Broadway or theater?
Yes, I had a very mixed bag experience on Broadway because I dared touch a revered piece that people have buried. Now I know. I mean, I knew kind of, but you don't mess with guys with dolls, and especially when Faith Prince had just done it so beautifully. And people said that to me, but I said I don't care. I have a year to do it. I may never have it again. So I would for sure do it again. It's really all I ever wanted to do was theater, and it's hilarious to me that I've ended up doing all these other things. So I definitely want to. And we were in the Columbia Metrotones. Do they still exist?
Yeah.
Woo! I don't know why people would move. And there were founding members still in the group, right? It was Cinta and Andrea. Was she a founding member too? Anyway, Jessica was a founding member. Founding members in the house. That's how old we are. Black jacket, hands held high.
If they were to do a reunion of everyone from the Gilmore Girls, from like, oh god, that's the name now. Edward, Melissa, Alexis, would you be able to go on it and just have fun with the cast all over again?
I would for sure.
Gilmore Girls reunion.
What's funny is no one's ever brought this up before. I think we are all still connected in one way or another for the most part. You can watch the wonderful Kelly Bishop on Bunheads, which I think in the best possible way is kind of a similar show, but not. And I'm not taking away from Sutton. I think they're great. And actually, I can watch Bunheads in a way I can't watch Gilmore Girls because I'm not in it. And I'm like, this is really entertaining. But yes, it would. It's the difference like with the Veronica Mars movie is you had the star and the creator of the show come together, and I don't know if you know about it's amazing. And I can remember when I got my first check that wasn't earmarked for every single bill, and I had like a little extra. I can remember that really well. I bought rollerblades. So excited, like zip around Prospect Park with rollerblades. So I think it's just like life, at every stage. Then I would acknowledge it, but I'd also quickly jump ahead to, okay, I got that now. In terms of whatever I wanted my accomplishment to be next, and I think that's where some of the space to write came from, as well as I certainly haven't achieved all I wanted to as an actor, but there's kind of I don't know if it's a lull. It's sort of like I'm on this show. It's not gonna, I know that's what I'm doing for the next year, maybe two. It's a funny feeling it used to just be like, what's next? What's next? I gotta get here. I gotta get there. And then when you get to a place of peace, I guess, it's weird because it's not the energy you have to keep going, and it's a hustle to be an actor, to be any creative person. And so I don't know if I answered your question, but it changes, and yet I think it's very hard to just acknowledge and feel happy where you are, but we should all try. Let's get somebody in the back, black and white arm.
I thought the breakers that I
show is so unusual. It's the only 1 hour show. I think it's like we're done by 6 p.m. most nights. It's very family friendly. It's just a really nice group of people. Many of them are my neighbors. They just happen to be. It's just a really happy group, and so that's why we talk to each other publicly. Some of us, but it's the world we live in. How about somebody in the backpack? Backpack, blue. Yes, you. Yes. Yeah. Hi.
Hi, I'm an actor too.
Awesome.
And I'm
You look like Erica from here, kind of. You look like Erica Christensen a little bit.
I tell you, I get that at least once a week.
Is it annoying? Or are you like, I'm my own person?
It's either her or Julia Stiles. You never know.
Yeah. It could be. Well, they're both doing great. So anyway.
I'm curious, as someone who loves theater and studied in New York, what made you make the decision to move to LA?
I was working okay here. I was doing some commercials. I got a play at George Street Playhouse. And then I went to LA, and I think one thing that's important in any business, but in being an actor especially, is you kind of have to listen to where they tell you they want you, you know. And I went to LA for a pilot season, and all the casting people were like, "You're not going to get a pilot for your first pilot season." And I got a pilot in like a week and a half, and which didn't go. It was a half-hour pilot called The Best Defense, and Rita Moreno was the judge, and she was sassy. And I was like a young upstart lawyer, but I got a job really quickly, and then I had other people who wanted to. And by the way, though, this is college, grad school. 3 years out of grad school, I was teaching, I was waitressing, I was doing lots of different things. So it wasn't like overnight or anything, but finally, all the stuff I had been working on, and I was in class, and I just kind of got into a groove, and so I didn't quite move there, but I went and stayed on my aunt's couch for a couple weeks to see if anything else happened after the pilot didn't go, and I got a job on Caroline in the City, which at the time was on Thursday nights, like near Seinfeld and Friends and stuff, and that's where I met Peter Krause. We were in the same episode of Caroline in the City, and it only took 15 years to do it. But, so, I worked, is the short answer. All right. Should we take another man? There's 2 men standing, okay. Are you friends? Are you going to punch each other? No, you're not friends. Why don't we take both of your questions? Okay.
Hi, I'm Jose. I'm from Spain.
Hello.
And I want to say congratulations for the renewal of Parenthood.
Thank you.
You're going to be in your 5th year already. There's been some talk about where is this story going.
My personal story? My character story, you mean?
Talking with the screenwriters or your own thing, where is Sarah going?
Hopefully out of her pull-out couch bed. I walk into that guest house now. My character lives in like my father's guest house. It's like full of tools and wrenches, and I'm like, I don't know what woman wouldn't have redecorated this by now. But you know, so I don't know. And this just the funny thing of this character. I love this character, but I too get frustrated sometimes about where things are going, especially because it has been dependent on what guy we have, which is not my favorite situation, and especially because the guys we have are so talented, they keep getting other jobs, and so I don't know, you know, I just saw Jason Ritter the other night, and I'm like, so how's your pilot? Is it bad? It's bad, right? It's bad. And I think it's probably not bad, I think it's probably great, with Alexis, crazy, and so, I don't know, and I kind of have pulled back from asking because it's, you know, the creator of the show is a great, amazing, intelligent guy. He comes up with something every year, and it's different than on Gilmore Girls. I feel like I kind of was Amy a little bit. You know, you want to be the person's muse, kind of, like that's the key seat to be in. I think, you know, I don't know where it's headed, but I love the people so much that I kind of, it doesn't matter, you know, we'll just try to make it work. I hope I get more to do with my TV kids. I love them, and I think there's more story there. And sir with glasses?
I have a very question.
Okay.
And I love you, by the way.
Thank you, I love you. writer, which is not what I mean. It's just, he gives us something that's really finely crafted, and it takes confidence as a showrunner to allow your actors to take what you spent your blood, sweat, and tears working on and kind of riff on it. And I would say he does that, and then he will pull it back in editing. He also, definitely will say sometimes, here's a speech I wrote, I'd like it just as is. So he's an incredible craftsman of the way we happen to do our show, which is, I've never seen anything like it, and I doubt I ever will again. I say to the kids on the show all the time, like, nobody lets you do this, there's no way. But in those big family scenes, it would almost be impossible to script, and the way we shoot is almost theater proscenium style. Like, you can see sometimes on the show, if we have more than one camera going, we don't get a lot of, like, angles, they shoot it sort of almost theater, so that we can do that, and we can make it feel real, because that is such a big part of the texture of that, making a family sound like a family. So it's a mix, I guess. Is that it? How about with the camera, and then we'll be done.
Hi, I'm Chris.
Hello.
I ran this, my husband and I watched Gilmore Girls all the time, and every time he would ask me, well, what are you going to ask Lauren when you see her? And so I would tell him a question, he'd say, don't ask her that, don't ask her that.
Now's the moment.
So then when he said, ask her what her favorite scene in Gilmore Girls was.
I know. What's worse, what's so tragic is I can't even remember. Guys, it was a lot of lines, and I don't remember so much of it. Like, if you said it to me, I could probably then recite the entire scene, top to bottom, but I think it would be, it's definitely something with Alexis, and I loved those earlier years. The first couple of years I think were just very, or you know what, it's one of those dinners, I think. It's one of those crazy dinners where Emily's mad at me, and like, those were horrible to shoot, because it's like, the camera's here, now do the whole thing again, the camera's here, and the food is always terrible. But, yeah, it was those Friday night family dinners, I think.
See, I'm gonna plump for some of the ones with that really dishy guy who was your love.
David Sutcliffe?
Oh my God.
Cutest, and the nicest, the best.
So because we're Barnard women, I had to do some research, and I want to play her out just with one sentence here. This is from the Washington Post this week. Just like the screenwriters of the best romantic comedies, she has taken elements of the familiar and spun them into a novel that's heartfelt, hilarious, and hopefully just the first example of what she can do with the written word. I agree completely.